Warning. The following video is not intended for an audience under the age of 13. Do not watch the video without a guardian or parent present. That is all.
Rumble is red, Frenzy is blue, and today I'm saying F*** the Popo in this toy review. By now I have no need to mention that Siege has passed over and Earthrise is beginning. Heck, I've already reviewed one of the toys from Earthrise, and I have 2 more coming.
By April. Thanks, Amazon US.
And while yes, Siege left an area wanting for Deluxe Autobots, it certainly skimped out on the cons now, didn't it? You can basically count how many Deluxe Decepticons we got in Siege on one hand. You have Skytread, Refractor, Brunt, and Spinister, and of course today's subject, Deluxe Barricade. And I'm reviewing him for 2 reasons. First off, I never got Prowl, which looks kinda crap, or the other Datsun molds. And second, my friend Silver says that this figure looks like an emo version of Smokescreen, and I am here to prove him wrong.
Get on with it.
Yes, get on with it!
Okay, so this rant's irrelevant, but at the same time, I need to get this video to 10 minutes, otherwise the algorithm will murder me.
Get on with it!
Fine, I'll do an obligatory Monty Python reference. I'd say Barricade is less an emo Smokescreen and more a reboot of the long since dead end trend. God, try saying that 5 times fast. What I mean by that is that he reminds me of the trend that Hasbro had back in the 2000s and early 2010s, where basically they would repaint an Autobot car and give it an eviler color scheme and call it Dead End. In fact, I own one of those figures, the Prime Dead End. But this figure seriously reminds me of that trend. It's a Autobot car mold with a slightly more evil paint job, and it's named Barricade instead of Dead End. But we've had this mold about 4 times over now. I hate to say it, but at this point, it's really all about looks, and honestly, I mean, the various shades of purple and lavender do really help him stand out, as well as the black. And if I'm being completely honest, I want this to be the Barricade that we always have moving forward, and not the movie version or the Micromaster version. This version looks great. Am I being too forgiving? I might be too forgiving in this case, but I really genuinely enjoy this color scheme. Sure, it's generic and kind of obvious and kind of rips off Skywarp, but at the same time, a good color scheme is a good color scheme, and you have to respect that. The articulation on this figure is also excellent, and while yes, the figure does have a similar problem to Springer in that its knees can be extremely loose, but unlike Springer, I am actually 100% fine with this because, well, the figure doesn't have the same issues that make him incredibly top-heavy. One issue that does bug me slightly more are the collar-mounted guns. Now then, in this mode, it looks like they should be capable of being held by his hands like this. Well, they can be, but it's an incredibly loose fit. A full peg would have been better here. You might be prone to point out that, well, if we did that, then, well, they wouldn't be able to peg up into the collars. But there is where I must refute you, because, well, you see these half pegs that are meant for the combined form of these 2 guns? They slide in and stay in just as well as these pegs here. My bigger problem though with these guns is, well, the ports on the side of the arms, because, well, they're pretty loose. And now we get to the combined mode of the gun. Boy, this looks kinda stupid. It would probably look a lot better if we didn't have the little handle bits here, which really are only for the G1 accuracy on Smokescreen, but I'm not exactly big on the idea of taking a saw to these and cutting them off. If that had happened, then, well, we still could have had them pegging onto the shoulders, but we also could have had a much cleaner looking version of this little wrist mounted gun and made it not look completely stupid, but we could have also argued that it would make the figure feel more Cybertronian. I mean, the vehicle mode, as we'll see, isn't particularly Cybertronian, but more cyberpunkish. I mean, just look at the guns here on the shoulders. They do absolutely nothing to distinguish it from the Earth version. If we were only able to mount the guns here and here, then it would have left us with more weapon ports. But G1! They're Cybertronian vehicles. Do something to distinguish them from the Earth versions. And can I just say that this head sculpt is drop dead gorgeous. I don't know why, but this figure's head has an elegance. I'm not sure what it is about this figure's face that makes me feel this way. It almost comes across as sort of a teenage girl's boy band crush face, which is extremely handsome and charming. I'm not sure what it is about this face that makes me feel that way, but it kind of does. It's inexplicable, so to speak. But overall, Barricade is very good, and I really like him and his extremely handsome face.
Power Rangers, SPD, Power Rangers to the rescue!
You know, despite my initial wariness of this mold, the transformation is fast, simple, and fun, which is the best thing that I can ask for out of a transformation. You will notice that there is Cybertronian writing on the side of this car mode, which I believe translates down into police. I could be wrong about that. Please correct me in the comments. And the Decepticon badge on the front is still on full display. I mean, I basically can't look at this thing without hearing either Power Rangers SPD's theme song or Bad Boys playing in my head. And like a lot of people, including myself, have said with this vehicle mode, it's a lot less sort of Cybertronian and a bit more cyberpunk. In fact, just remove this and bam, it just looks like a really cool sports car from the future. In fact, it wouldn't surprise me if Elon Musk is low-key working on a version of this. You can put the light bar on there, and well, I don't think the purple that they used for the rest of the translucent parts was a particularly good fit for this figure, but what are you gonna do? Hasbro has to stick to a budget with these plastics, after all. You can also take the guns and again, just slap them onto the front. And again, it doesn't make me think Cybertronian as much as it makes me think James Bond. You could also take the guns and, well, slap them together again and paste them on top. And again, this would have looked better if we had just sawed these bits off altogether. And then you can slap the light bar on top of that and, well, now it just looks stupid. Or if you want something equally stupid, you could just put it on top of the light bar and, well... Ugh, God, this is ridiculous. There's nothing else I can say about that. This looks ridiculous. The guns don't belong on top of here. And unfortunately, there, well, isn't really somewhere to stash it underneath the vehicle. But in terms of undercarriages, well, it's actually one of the less egregious examples I can think of off the top of my head. So does Siege Barricade belong in your collection? Well, if you want more Decepticons, then yeah, he does kind of belong in there. If you want a decent action figure and didn't get any of the other versions of the mold, then yeah, he's a good figure and he deserves to be in your collection. I'd say go for this figure. You can't go wrong with it. Its color scheme is great, it's fun, it's well articulated. There are a few problems with articulation that I didn't talk about, but still, it is a good figure, and I'd say it more than justifies its price and, well, its place in your collection. So with that being said, this is Firebite 27, over and out.